In this lesson, we're going to look at section 4-4, writing equations in slope-intercept form. So keep in mind, when we're talking slope-intercept form, we're discussing y equals mx plus b. So in the last section, they gave us the slope and the intercept, but sometimes life doesn't work out that way, and they give you other information. You have to figure out how to write it in y equals mx plus b form from that. So let's get started. So write an equation of a line that passes through the point 1, 5 with the slope of 2. So in this case, they do give us the slope being 2, which is great. But then they give us also an x and a y. So if we're starting with the y equals mx plus b, well, we can still substitute in. So we have our slope, which is 2, but then they give us an x, which is 1, and a y, which is 5. So all we're left with is b. And so from here, we can just use simple algebra to solve for what our b is. So we get 5 equals 2 plus b. And to get rid of that 2, we need to subtract it. So we get 3 is equal to b. So from that, I'm going to use that answer, and I'm going to plug that back in. So I actually have y equals, well, m, that's still just 2, and I have x plus 3. And so there we go. And so if we were to substitute our point 1 comma 5 back in, we would still end up with 5 equals 2 times 1 plus 3, which is 5. All right, let's do another one. So again, I'm starting with y equals mx plus b. So this one I'll use some colors to help illustrate it a little bit more. So our slope, again, we just said m is equal to -1. And then we have our x, and we have our y. So let's plug everything in what we know. So y is 7 equals m, we know is -1, and then x is -4, and then we're just left with b. So from here, all we have to do is solve. So we get 7 equals, well, -1 times -4 is just 4 plus b. So all I'm going to do is subtract 4 from both sides. So I end up with 3 is equal to b. And so again, I end up with y equals m, which is -1, x, plus, and then our b, which is 3. And there's your answer. So that's how you would do it given a point and the slope. But sometimes even life isn't that easy. Sometimes what they're going to do is give you 2 points. So the table shows coordinates of 2 points on the graph of a linear function. Which equation describes the function? So let's go through it. So first things first, we need the slope. So remember our slope formula. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So I'm going to say the first coordinate is x sub 2 and the second coordinate is x sub 1. So I have m equals, so this is x2, the x1, y2, y1. So y sub 2, -1 minus -4, all over -3 minus 6. So we have double negative here. So we end up with -1 plus 4, which is just 3, over -3 minus 6, which is -9, which just gives us -1/3. So right away, we can look, and we can see our slope is -1/3. So we can do a process of elimination and know it is not D and it is not B. So now let's use our slope and just one of the points. So we start with y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to plug in my slope, -1/3, and then x, I'm going to use the top one. So I get times -3. And then for y, I would also use -1. So then I'm solving for b. So we get -1 equals negative times negative, double negative, goes positive. So I just get 1/3 times 3, which is just 1. So I get 1 plus b, subtract 1. So we end up with negative 2 equals b. So when we substitute in, we end up with y equals negative 1/3 x minus 2. So minus 2, well, there's a plus 2 and a minus 2, so that means our answer is A. Let's do one more example. So we're given 2 points, negative 1, 12, and 4, negative 8. So let's find the slope. So m is equal to, I'm going to go 12 minus negative 8 all over negative 1 minus 4. So double negative on top goes positive, so we end up with 20 over negative 5, which just simplifies down to negative 4. So m equals negative 4. So right away, well, oh man, this one kind of worked out nicely for us. We see that there are no other negative 4s, so we're kind of leaning towards this one, but let's do the math to double check, just to make sure we end up with a plus 8 there. So I'm going to use negative 112 for my point. So I end up with 12 equals negative 4 times negative 1 plus b. So we have 4 plus b on the right side equals 12. Subtract 4 from both sides. So I get 8 equals b. So it looks like y equals negative 4x plus 8. So it does look like my answer is J. So there you go. So when you're given 2 points, you need to find the slope, and then you can use either point to plug in with the slope.